Hey, this is Jamie from Capsule Computers, and today we are reviewing Sorcerer King for Windows. The game has just left Steam Early Access and is available now for $39.99 US. The game is built with a classic 4X fantasy base fused with an RPG. The game is the fourth title in Stardock Entertainment's Elemental series and is the follow-up to Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes. Sorcerer King is set 200 years after the events of Fallen Enchantress Legendary Heroes. After defeating the Fallen Enchantress with his two allies Lord Relius and Proserpine, Myrdault disappeared for almost 200 years to master courage in Spain. This artifact is so powerful that it was the downfall of the Fallen Enchantress. Myrdault has now returned and conquered the kingdoms, reducing them all to a single city-state, led by a puppet leader. Now he is seeking to attack the shards and destroy the world so he can cast a spell making and become an immortal god. Don't be fooled by the epic main plot. Sorcerer King's world is not super serious by any means. There are a ton of conversation options and side quests that are actually quite silly in a Monty Python sort of way. Humor is really a personal thing, but for me it was mostly a miss. However, the amount of lore-related text in Sorcerer King will definitely satisfy RPG fans. Players start out like any other weakling in a 4X title with one little city, but they must also compete with the all-powerful Sorcerer King. If the player becomes too much of a threat, the Sorcerer King is more than happy to send out his forces and squash the player like a bug. A doomsday counter rises and falls based on the player's action that also pits the players against the clock. This adds an interesting balancing act to the game that must be maintained at all times. Should I expand and build another city to increase my production because the doomsday counter is filling up really quick, or should I keep on the down low in hopes of striking the Sorcerer King from left field? The game compensates the need for slow and subtle growth with the RPG functions of the game. Players are able to develop heroes into powerhouses and equip units with some of the finest gear built from the raw materials scavenged from their journeys. Sorcerer King's turn-based combat will be familiar to fans of tactical RPGs. Units act based on initiative and have access to a variety of abilities and items in combat. Like any good RPG, the player selects one of 6 sovereign classes at the beginning of the game. Each class has a unique talent tree that serves as the game's technology tree. As the game progresses, the sovereign will be able to research new spells and grow their repertoire. The spells range from simple utility skills for combat to massive terraforming abilities that can actually help defend a city from the Sorcerer King's onslaught. Sorcerer King's turn-based combat will be familiar to fans of tactical RPGs. Units act based on initiative and have access to a variety of abilities and items in combat. Like any good RPG, the player selects one of 6 sovereign classes at the beginning of the game. Each class has a unique talent tree that serves as the game's technology tree. As the game progresses, the sovereign will be able to research new spells and grow their repertoire. The spells range from simple utility skills for combat to massive terraforming abilities that can actually help defend a city from the Sorcerer King's onslaught. The audio visuals are solid for the most part. The soundtrack is standard epic fantasy fare and the art style is a little more on the cartoony side, which fits surprisingly well with the game's comedic parts. Unfortunately, the graphics do feel a little repetitive as players will play the same race throughout the entire game. The graphic options are a little sparser than what I would expect from a modern PC game, but they are still pretty workable. Sorcerer King is definitely on the simpler end of the spectrum for 4X titles. Mixed with the heavy RPG elements of the game, it has potential to be an ideal gateway drug for people new to the 4X genre. Unfortunately, Stardock really dropped the ball in bringing fresh blood into the genre. Now, to be perfectly fair, the same can be said for a vast majority of the titles in the genre. However, failing to deliver a proper beginner's guide in the game or putting one in the forums deserves special mention. The extent of the in-game tutorial are some rather vague quests, and some in-game tips are more focused on the current context. Making that beginner's guide easily accessible in the game would have been a great way to reach out to new players. I can easily recommend Sorcerer King to fans of the 4X genre. It's an interesting new take on an old genre that's worth a try. The mix of RPG and 4X is entertaining and well implemented. However, it won't convert the non-believers, and Stardock ruined a perfect opportunity to bring new people into the genre. I have some concerns about the game's replayability, as the steps to victory is extremely cut and dry. The audio-visual presentation is solid, though a touch repetitive at times. Overall, I'm giving Sorcerer King a 7.5 capsules out of 10. If you want to read our full review, be sure to check out the link in the description or in the video's card. I hope to see you soon. This is Jamie from Capsule Computers signing off.